Hello. Hi, welcome back to It's Queer Magic. It is me, Kirbo. I'm so excited to be back. What has kept me away? ADHD, autism, depression, general lack of motivation for things. But you are not my doctor, so I would reel it back in if I was you. I'm so happy to see you. I know I'm starting to sound repetitive, but you are looking so good. I learned from an early age, if you're trying to do the right thing and like be a good person, you see something, you say something. And so when you're here and I see you with this energy and your eyes flashing and you're just gorgeous flush, I have to say something. Okay? So looking good. Thank you for really showing up in this way. So today I want to talk about a tarot spread. This is the spread for my offering called the Epiphany reading. And I'm just going to give it to you. I'm just going to give it to you. I think it's a great spread. I think it unlocks a lot of information and helps to get some things unstuck. I am not selling the invention of my tarot spread. With my one-on-one services, I'm literally selling my interpretation. So I don't feel any kind of way giving you the spread. I hope that you use it. I hope that it's helpful. I hope that you use it. I hope that it is helpful. And I hope that you enjoy it. So a little about the Epiphany reading. This came to me because I was struggling for a really long time. I was running into complications, obstacles, restrictions, limits, blocks in so many different areas in my life. And I was really down for a long time about it because I was super sure that it meant that I was doing the wrong thing. I was in the wrong business. I was never meant to do it in the first place. All of the mean things that your brain wants to say to you when things are going well, and then really, really drive home when things are a little bit rocky. That's what I was going through. And I couldn't decipher for myself for so long, what was the message? What am I being asked to do? As I'm sure you are aware and have experienced, just like me online, we hear, the rejection is redirection and that's a blessing, right? Rejection is redirection and that's a blessing. And I do not disagree with that. I think that that is true. But this reading, this tarot spread came about when I was in a place that I could not tell if I was being redirected or if I was meant to rise to these challenges. And it helped me so much. It helped me so much. And it's helped the people that I have given one to so far. So I really hope that it helps you. So this is a reading really designed for people. It will work for anybody, but it's designed for people who have started a passion project or, started working for themselves, started a business, started doing their art, started doing something that they were really felt called to do and are just not seeing results, or the results have petered off, or you keep getting signs and symbols from all over the place and you can't tell if you're actually meant to pivot right now, or if you're actually meant to do something differently or to stick to what you're doing. And of course, it was made with creatives and spiritual business owners in mind, but ultimately it really can work for basically any issue. And I have tested it, so I know that it is applicable. Okay, so this tarot spread consists of 2 sets of 2 cards with a final card at the bottom. And like with any tarot spread, maybe if you feel like you need some more cards, you need some clarifiers, you want to see what's going on after that, please do what you're going to do because you know how to handle it yourself, and I trust you. But for this reading, we have, like I said, 2 sets of 2 cards, and they're kind of on a binary. They kind of answer each other and sort of echo each other and mirror each other. And the very beginning is 2 cards that will help us see where we are clinging to an identity that is actively in the way. A lot of times when we're stuck, when we are facing a block, it's because we are sort of desperately clinging to a version of ourselves that no longer is useful, no longer is rooted in the truth for us of who we really are, and quite frankly, usually wants to be laid to rest. That version of us wants to move on. We will always have this call to change because we are humans. So the very first position is going to be the identity you're clinging to that needs to be shed. And it is the identity or a piece of the identity. It is a descriptor, a certain piece. Like, of course, it changes depending on the card that you're pulling, but this is a part of your identity that you're clinging to, that you're being asked to lay to rest, to release. And on the opposite side of that, we have the identity that you are being asked to embody. And I want to be clear that this is not saying like you have to be someone different. It's really not about something that you don't have. It's more about the version of you that you're giving time and attention to, and the piece of you that is letting or getting to have all of the light of day, getting to make all of the decisions that may not be rooted in the true, courageous, fully expressed version of you, and maybe rooted in, pieces of you that were left by trauma or that were formed by your upbringing, in the sense that you sort of try to make yourself someone who will be happy. We learn lessons about who we should be and what we should do at a really early age, and they're not all rooted in the truth, and they're not all rooted in what is actually best for us individually. So these two cards will really help you sort of see what you're not seeing about who you really are and what you're trying to become. And again, it's not about you being someone completely different. It's about you letting yourself finally be the full version of yourself, this piece that has been sort of knocking at the door for a long time. Once you get past those two, we move into the second line of two cards. And on one end, we have what you think the problem is, what you're focused on, what you are zoomed in on and are giving all your time and attention to, that may or may, I was going to say may or may not, but that's not the truth. It is that this thing is distracting you. This is not the actual problem, even if it is something that is a problem or an issue. For instance, if you're like hyper focused on money and can't see like the message that they're actually trying to tell you about how you're going to get that, and they need you to sort of put it away, you might get a card in this position that says like you think it's money and it's not. They're not saying that you don't, like you have as much as you need and that you shouldn't ask for more or that you'll never have more, but that your current focus on it is in the way. And on the other hand, you can probably guess, we have what the problem actually is and what you should actually be focusing on. And so we have those two, and in the end, you have the embodied path forward, a card that will represent your embodied path forward, the best balanced way, aligned and purposeful way to move forward, address all of these things, and sort of get somewhere. Now, we have a couple optional positions that will just depend on what you want to do. If you're feeling called to pull these cards, you'll pull them. And if not, you won't. So we have 1 and 2, right? We have 3 and 4, and then we have 5 in the middle. You can also pull a card between each of these ends of this like binary that we've created. I feel like there's a better word for that, but binary is not an evil word. We just don't like some of the binaries that are being forced upon us, right? It's not a bad word. Okay. You can do the identity that you're clinging to, the identity that you're being asked to step into, and then a card for how to transition, right? And the same thing in the middle of the next one, what you think the problem is, what the problem really is and what to focus on, and how to transition in the middle. And those can just give you a little extra instruction, a little extra warmth and validation and encouragement, and really just like it can really tie in and put a bow on the information that'll help you utilize this in your actual life and help you move forward in a way that actually works for you and make it usable as opposed to just something you think about. So that's the spread, and I am going to pull some cards. We are going to do a faux epiphany reading together and see what kind of results it can pull through. We'll see what it actually looks like and what it feels like, and maybe do some troubleshooting if some cards come up that might not necessarily make sense right away. And we'll see what happens. We'll pull the cards. This will be an epiphany reading for everyone that's watching this that consents to receive an epiphany reading. It will be the parts that are applicable to you will be for you, and the parts that aren't will not be, because there's more than one person watching. Okay, you're going to begin however you like to begin your tarot readings. I like to pull the whole spread. First 2 cards, second 2 cards, and the last. Okay, so here we are with our epiphany reading. What is the identity that we're clinging to, that we're being asked to lay to rest? And I have pulled the 5 of Swords. The 5 of Swords in this position really speaks to clinging to an idea that you may be a failure, clinging to the idea that you may be a mess up, right? That you may be the kind of person who will fumble if they're trusted. If you really put your whole back into it and you really try, that you're going to fail. And so maybe you don't try. And so maybe you give yourself a hard time in your brain. Putting down a Swords card is difficult, you know. I mean, it doesn't have to be difficult, but it can be really frustrating because we're talking about our brain chemistry. We're talking about things that we are going through in our mind, the maze, the labyrinth, the walls, the pitfalls, the traps, right? The trauma left over, the way that we have been taught to think about ourselves and the world around us that is not rooted in the truth and not rooted in who we are, and so causes us stress. The fives are always squeezing in around us. They squeeze down around you and add the pressure, but they offer a beautiful gift of clarity, of seeing something that you may have missed, right? That you may have, if you had not experienced that tight moment, that you might not even realize it's something that should be on your table, that you should be dealing with, that you should be working through. But ultimately, leaning into a release of the 5 of Wands really has you working against the piece of you that is determined to believe the worst about yourself and is determined to think that the mistakes that you've made or the mistakes that you will make are so big that they will kill you, that you'll die of cringe, of embarrassment, of people finally knowing who you really are. And all of it is untrue. It's untrue because we're being asked to literally step out of this mindset. And on the opposite side, or on the receiving end there, what you're being asked to, what we are all being asked to step into, the piece of us, the piece of our identity that we are being asked to embody, is the 6 of Pentacles. I love this. Look at the colors. So beautiful. The 6 of Pentacles. The 6 of Pentacles is a little misunderstood. We have, some interpretations of the card going around that are very much capitalistic and uncool. That's how I'll say it. Very uncool. Uncool way to do it. And I don't necessarily think that there's any wrong way to do this, but I don't think that a lot of those interpretations are rooted in something that is universally true. But that's just me, I don't know. But the 6 of Pentacles, when we look at it, we think charity, right? We always go straight to that thought of charity, and understanding that without a capitalist framework, that charity doesn't necessarily need to exist, then what does this card speak to? And in my experience, it speaks to a cycle, a system of mutual aid, support, of mutual respect and love and actual care. When we give to someone or something or an organization or whatever, when we give, we get good feelings. We get all of this stuff that makes us feel positive, like we're really making an impact and we're really doing some good, which is good. That's not wrong. And when the tables are turned and it's time to ask for help and it's time to receive and it's time to take up our place in that cycle of support, and we refuse and we're unable to ask, we're unable to receive, we really put in place a hierarchy that is not rooted in reality. If you make it an even smaller example of you and your friends, right? You are helping a friend because they're down and out, they need something, and they just a moment, and you help them because you love them, and it's no question, easy. And then you're in a place and they offer to help you and you don't want to do it, right? You're like, no, I can't accept that from you. Even though it may not be your intention, what you're actively saying is, I can give to you because I'm up here and you're down here, and it makes sense for me to give to you. But if you give to me, all of a sudden I'm down here. And again, I'm not saying that that's what you're thinking. I'm not saying that that's your intention or your motivation, but it is how oftentimes the person on the other side feels. Like, why can't you let me take care of you in the way that you took care of me? It sort of gives us a different lean, a different color to the energy that you were meeting me with when it was time for you to help me, if you are unwilling to let me help you. And I hope that makes sense. I kind of went on, but I feel like stepping into the Six of Pentacles is a big invitation for all of us, for everybody on the planet, because it is the way that we are going to survive. We need each other. I don't remember who said this. It was not my video. I do not recall, but it stuck in my mind. I'm going to share it right now. So if somebody knows the video, tag them down below. But someone was saying that, animals are born with their first instinct, their most important tool being their first instinct. Giraffes, they get up and run pretty quick. So do horses, right? And what do humans do? The very first thing that we have, our tool, our skill, our most important instinct is to ask for help. It's to cry. It's to say, somebody, please. I'm born, help me. And it's what we have to rely on for so many years of our lives. And so if that is our skill, if that's our necessary instinct, then it is absolutely something that we should work on feeling comfortable doing, on leaning into the instinct to say, help me, and to really reject any of the other mental stuff that tries to tell you that you don't get to have that help and you're not worth that help. All of that is false. So stepping out and releasing the Five of Swords, recognizing that you are not just a fuck up and that your mistakes are not going to end you, and that it's okay to take a risk. It's okay to keep going somewhere when others may have moved on from this idea or way of thinking or activity or whatever. Sometimes you thought something was a good idea and it wasn't, and that's okay. And sometimes you tried and everyone else had to bail before you, and that's okay too. But releasing that version of yourself and stepping into the Six of Pentacles really says, I am here to make a communal arrangement where we are in support of each other, and I will honor and respect you enough to ask for help when I need it as well. And then we move on to the second line. Okay, the second line consists of what we think the problem is and what we could really be focusing on. And in this spread today, what we think the problem is the Knight of Pentacles. And isn't that cute? Oh, the Knight of Pentacles. Of course, we think this is the issue. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not paying attention. I'm not going ham on everything. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the foundation. We really need to fix how I'm living in order to get anywhere or do anything. And that's not wrong, right? Remember that this position can definitely speak to something that is a problem and needs to be addressed, but your focus on it is not helping, right? So it's not wrong that we absolutely as a collective need to find a better way to live on this planet so that we can be in balance, with each other and the planet themselves. And being asked to step in to the Three of Cups, to embody the Three of Cups, to have this be the focus, this be the issue, this be the thing that will actually help. It makes so much sense to me because we really are being asked to sort of step away from this individualistic, hyper focus on having my needs met one by one. And this is not contradictory to asking for help in the other line. This is not contradictory. But the Knight of Pentacles saying we think we have to take more intentional steps forward. We have to be slow. We have to be concerned about the journey and making sure that we're paying attention and we're hyper present and we're really prepared. We have to make sure we're prepared. That I feel is the message here. You really have to make sure that we're prepared. Whereas focusing on the Three of Cups says, why don't you focus on being alive? Why don't you focus on communing with the energies around you, on communing with your people? Make a community, show up, try to learn and be a good friend, try to hold each other accountable and help each other learn, and don't just cut people out of your communities and your environments without any sort of like attempt to heal and move forward. Really focusing on the Three of Cups has us actually coming together in, excuse me, in supportive and healthy and mutually beneficial community experiences. But it's not just about people outside of us. It's also about our spirit. It's also about our spirits and our guides and our guardians. It's also about the earth and the planet and all of the things that we feel connected to, having intention, having the intention to hear, to really listen, to connect with, respect, honor, and build a relationship with all of the things we feel connected to in the planet, including the stars and the dirt and the rocks and the trees and the little squirrels and everything that we feel connected to. Having in the intention of building that relationship is actually what is going to help us live in balance with the planet and change the things that need to be changed. They rely on us being separate. They rely on us thinking about ourselves only. And that's not like what the Knight of Pentacles is about all the time, but that is the interpretation we're getting for this current reading. I don't want you to think that I think that there's like only one way to interpret the cards. I don't know why I'm even worried about what you think. Think all you want, baby. But the Three of Cups is a beautiful invitation to focus on community building, even though right now it feels like that's not the biggest issue at hand. It is, because this is going to be our greatest tool to move forward. It's going to be our greatest strength and fuel against the forces that would have us suffering. And how we move forward, how do we move forward in a balanced, aligned, purposeful way? The King of Cups. Love this card, first of all. Love it. Moving forward as the King of Cups means that we have to be really honest with how we're feeling and sort of try to move forward and do the things that we are called to do, specifically the ones that we are resisting doing, the ones that we are reluctant to do. You move forward by addressing the stuff that's been on your plate that you know you're destined for. Right? You know that this work needs to be done and that there are things in between where you are now, your heart and your mind and your feelings and your trauma and all of you, where you are now and where you want to be. You have to go through some of these tangles and untangle them. And the King of Wands is absolutely someone who does that, even and especially when they are feeling very reluctant to do so. They are a reluctant leader, and the kind of reluctant leader that makes a good leader. How are you going to give yourself to the community? How are you going to show up and be a good community member and be a good friend, a good partner, a good citizen of the world if you refuse the invitations that are pulling at you? If you refuse the invitations to address your hurt feelings, and if you refuse the invitation to fill up your own cup? The King of Cups is a lot of things, but I think in this position today, it really is speaking to us addressing the stuff that we don't want to. I know you don't want to look at it. I know it hurts, but if it's on your plate right now, it's because you have the resources to engage with it now. And I don't just mean money resources. I mean, you may be in a different place in your mind. You may be in a different place geographically that will allow you to actually feel safe enough to move forward on some of these issues. Some of the things that you never thought you'd be addressing, you actually can heal through. And that's a lot. That's dramatic, but it is the truth. And it also is incredibly freeing if you let it be. So that is our example Epiphany reading. Please go forward and use this spread. Tell me how it goes. Tell me what you like. Tell me what was complicated. If you pull a card in a position and you can't make it make sense and you need some help, comment down below, tell me what's going on, and I will do my best to help you and to help you interpret what it could possibly mean. We don't forget that if you want to, there's always more information on the bottom of the deck. Ours is the Eight of Swords, which hella speaks to what we were talking about here. The Eight of Swords says, baby, get uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. It does say get uncomfortable. It says tie yourself up. Recognize that when you're changing, you have to see where you are playing a part in your own suffering. And that doesn't mean that we're saying that no other things are trying to oppress you. Like, of course they are. Of course things are not perfect. But you don't have control over those in your immediate life. And you can be radically honest with yourself and see where you are refusing to take the information, to take the hint, to take the invitation to change. Because you can change. And when the 8 of Swords is on the table, you need to, and you want to, and you're ready to. It's all about letting yourself surrender to the process, get very, very comfortable being uncomfortable so that you can relax against your bonds, accept your circumstances. I'm not saying you have to enjoy them, but if your circumstances are your circumstances, that's the first step. We have to recognize this is how it is before we can find a way forward. And there's so much there, but I'm going to cut that there. We have done it. What did you think? Like I said, let me know what you think about the spread, or if you need help, I will do my best to help you out. And if you'd like me to do an Epiphany reading for you, you can book them at my website. All the links are in the link zone down below, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. We've got payment plans and scholarships and stuff. You just have to ask for what you need. So if you're interested, you know where to find me. We also have the Rainbow Witches. I shared with them in the Discord group with my Patreon a while ago, and we've got a bunch more challenges. We're watching a movie tomorrow, and we do tarot studies and moon circles, and we just have fun together. We're just like online friends. It's great. So if you're interested, that is also down below. Follow me everywhere else. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you're interested. Tell me if there's something that you want to hear about specifically. I'd love to know if there's something on your mind or on your heart that you'd like me to speak on. I'd be more than happy to. Okay? Take care of yourselves. Remember, Pride is all year, and no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. Okay? And you don't have to believe it. I'll believe it for you. Until later. Ta-ta. Mwah.